day when you're leading the team. Is there any coincidence there at all?
Well, I think it was before my time, but if you look at the record of Australia at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, we've got a 2-1 record against the All Blacks, which is the only place in the world we've got this record. So it's quite a fitting time to come back here. We haven't won the Bledisloe Cup for 22 years, so we're looking forward to playing in front of a huge crowd here.
It's going to be smack bang in the middle of footy season on a Saturday. Can you sell it out?
Oh, well, our job is to play good rugby. Then we've got Rugby Australia's got to support it, and then we've got to get Victorians want to have the World Cup final, so there's a great opportunity for them to dress rehearse here.
What sort of springboard would it be for the team, if they can get a win here in front of a big home crowd in terms of setting yourselves up to go to France?
Well, the first one's obviously South Africa and Pretoria, and then we've got Argentina, so it's the third game of the Rugby Championships. But all of these games are really important, and particularly if you play against New Zealand in front of a big crowd where you've got all the Victorians coming, 100,000 of them coming, then it's a great opportunity to play under pressure, and they're the sort of games that players live for. They live for these sort of games where you're under the most pressure, big crowd, and you've got to play good rugby.
There's a lot of Kiwis that live in Victoria.
That's good. That's good. I hope they get nice and drunk and nice and loud. So I'm sure that Victorians will put on beer, Victorian bitter, cheaply, get them nice and drunk, scream, yell. Then at the end of the game, they don't know what's happened.
I'm sure you prefer to see more gold though.
Oh, well, whoever turns up, we don't mind who turns up.
In terms of the Giddo law, is there any sort of movement on that?
Well, that's a constant discussion between myself and Rugby Australia, and what shall I say there? It's moving in a positive direction.
Do you reckon it might move in a direction where there's a result before the World Cup?
Sorry?
Where there's a result before the international season kicks off in terms of the policy there?
Well, we've got to make a selection for the first Rugby Championship, and that's obviously the first test.
And as you said before, that haven't won the Bledisloe Cup in 20 years. Why has it been so difficult to win it, and why does it not take back?
Well, I can't say because I haven't been here. I don't look back into history. I look more forward, and I know what we've got here. And we've got three players here. We've got plenty of talent in Australia. We've got plenty of good players. So there's not something magical between Australia and New Zealand. What is it? Tasman Sea? What is it? Tasman Sea?
Mm-hmm.
Bass Strait, Tasman Sea. It doesn't. On one side, doesn't create Superman. On the other side, it doesn't create people who are going to get beaten.
Just on the talent, Eddie, the Gold Coast camp was the first chance you had to work with some of the players. Did you get any pleasant surprises?
Well, I was enthused by the attitude of the players. I was enthused by their coachability, and as I said, we've got plenty of talent. So if we've got good work ethic, we've got the ability to learn. We don't know where we can go.
Eddie, a couple of Queensland boys missed out. Tate, Harry and Fraser had really good games on the weekend. What do they need to do to get back into the frame?
Do it about 6 or 7 times more. You don't get in the Wallabies playing one good game. This is an iconic jersey. We're playing at iconic ground. This is one of the most famous jerseys in the world. So you don't get it by playing one good game. You've got to play consistently well.
Are you in constant contact with these guys that haven't been named in the squad?
Well, in enough contact, yeah.
Are you looking forward to seeing Fraser and Michael Hooper go head to head?
Well, I like to see all those games that make a difference. We've got Rebels, Brumbies here on Sunday, across the road there at AMI. The local derbies are really important games because there's a bit more pressure on in those games. Everyone understands they're more important selection games. So to see players go head to heads, very useful in terms of selection.
Would you have enough room in your squad to have two sort of genuine open side flankers like those two?
Well, we've yet to pick the final squad, but there's no reason why you can't.
Did you watch the Wallabies game against the All Blacks in Melbourne last year?
I did.
What did you make of it?
They played very well. You know, had the run of the game, and then the referee makes a decision at the end of the game and you get beaten. But you know, again, I was just talking to some of the players. You can't get frustrated by those things. That's the game gives you what it gives you, and then you got to be able to cope with the game. And our job is to create a team that can cope with any situation. Good refereeing, bad referee, drunk crowd, non-drunk crowd, big crowd, small crowds. Doesn't matter what happens. We've got to be able to cope with it.
You mentioned the Brumbies. Obviously, they're sort of leading the charge for the Australian super teams. I mean, what have you sort of made of their form, or Australian teams in general, in the super competition? And does that sort of do you think Super Rugby? I know you said in the past it's quite different to Test rugby, but you know, can you sort of correlate the two? I guess.
Well, we don't try to correlate the two. They're different competitions. Like, one is a selection. For me, it's a selection base, and that's how I look at it. And there's other games to look at. We're looking at Japan League One, we're looking at top 14, we're looking at Premiership, we're looking at all those games. And the standard of the level of play is not my concern. My concern is how players are developing and how they're progressing.
What do you make of Quade's cameo?
We ran on well and ran off well, so that's the start. But he's obviously got to do a bit more than that.
Eddie, your coaching group's been finalised now?
Not yet, no.
Not quite?
No, we're in the process of 1st of May, so I've still got until 2,400 hours.
And how much of a challenge is pulling all that together, given that you've only got a short time with the team before the Pretoria test?
No, all good, mate. All good.
Is it an attack coach? You haven't got?
We've still got one or two to fill. Yeah.
So can we expect an announcement then by the end of the day?
Hopeful. But contradiction is a big part of coaching.
Anything further? Speaking of contradictions, I think Wallabies are 7th in world rankings at the moment. Do you subscribe to rankings at all? Or do you think we just bunk at this stage?
Yeah, no, they're important, mate. And they give you an indication of where you are in the world. We're 7th, and so we've got work to do to get to number 1, because we want to be number 1. And there's a gap there. We understand what the gap is, and then it'll take the coaching staff and the players to work hard and to work smart to fill the gap. And we saw with South Africa in 2018, 2017, you know, they were winning games at less than 40%. And they went on and won the World Cup in 2019. So in a short period of time, you can change a team remarkably. You can change an individual remarkably in a short period of time. And that's the job. You know, as I said, we've got good talent. Dave Rennie's done a fantastic job in 3 years of putting together a good base. They've got some good principles, some good ethics in the team. And what we've got to do now is add a little bit more to them.
Have you got enough time to turn it around?
Plenty. Too much time. Too much time. As I said, you only need a week to change the team. So imagine in 10 weeks what we can do. Now, unfortunately, it just doesn't add on to each other, because sometimes, you know, you put a little bit on, it falls off. That little bit you put on falls off with another little bit. And sometimes it's like an old car. Have you ever driven an old car? So young people never drive old cars anymore. You know that? They don't experience that. So I used to, like, I remember I had a 1200cc Nissan something, like Datsun. They used to be called Datsuns, right? And you'd fix something, and then the next day something else would break. And you'd fix that, and the next day something else would break. And sometimes teams are like old cars. You fix something and then something else breaks. So what we want is the electric version. We want a nice Tesla with a Panasonic battery that just goes and goes and goes and goes. So that's what we're aiming for.
You got a few of these analogies for the boys during camp?
I don't know.
Just one more on Quade. Like, if you've been in contact with him, is he intending to? Obviously, he did that so he could qualify for the upcoming games. Is he looking like he's going to actually play?
I went and saw him last week out at Kintetsu, out in the west of Osaka. a bit like, I imagine, going to Gippsland.
And did you
Gippsland's going to be the centre of rugby, you know, for the Commonwealth Games. Do you know that?
No.
I'm just giving you a
Oh.
tip here.
Well, it's
Just
beautiful out
helping
there.
Victoria promote rugby. No, he's due to play in a couple of weeks. I think 5th of October, and everything's on song. He's progressing really nicely. Karevi's progressing really nicely. He should be playing also, maybe about the 5th of May. Who else we got? The Melbourne flanker, Big Rob. He's coming along. Should be right for maybe second last round. Matt Phillips likewise. So we've got a number of players coming back, so it's really promising, which again just creates this nice selection pressure that the players who keep improving and the players who keep showing that they've got an appetite to be the best in the world will get selected.
Did Rory Arnold get the message, I suppose?
Well, he's not playing, so if he's not playing, it's very hard to get selected. I can't play him if he's playing Mahjong. If you're playing Mahjong, well, it doesn't get you in the team.
Did you see him when you were in Japan?
I didn't go to any Mahjong clubs.